Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 25. I think it's 25. I might be mistaken, but I believe we are at we are at episode 25 of This Week in Geek. My name is Ren Geekness, and today I am solo hosting our weekly meetup to talk about the best things that happened in our Geek Week. Zach Pope is out. He had some weekend plans with his friends, and so he let me know. I tried to get a co-host, but it was too last minute. Nobody really was available, at least not anyone that I remembered contacting. So we're going to breeze through this one today. You know how this show works. Thank you for watching me, in this case, watching me live. Thanks for hearing listening to us on Spotify. In case you're listening to us on Spotify, whether you're going for a jog, whether you're at the gym, on a commute, thank you so much. Remember to rate us, to like us, to share all those good things that do wonders for the channel and for the show. So today we got a very intimate show. It's just you and me. I don't even need headphones to listen to the other person. And we're just going to breeze through our weekly rankings, discuss a little bit of our main topic, because as of right now, at least, it is just a rumor. And there wasn't really anything big that happened this week. But I also didn't want to just do another entire Q&A episodes, because those are special when they come by every now and then. If we do them too much, they lose that special touch. I just did a 4,000 subscribers Q&A last Sunday with you guys as well. Thank you to everyone who was there. Thank you again for 4,000 subscribers. I checked earlier today and we just hit 4,200 subscribers. That's massive, real quick growth. So thank you all so much for that. And you guys, in case you don't know how this show works, in case you're new to the show, we do our weekly rankings first. That's when we look back at everything we watched this week and rank them from worst to best. I do that myself. You guys are welcome to add yours in the live chat. And then we'll do a quick discussion on the main topic, and then we'll go to your questions. Your questions are left on the community tab, or if you want to guarantee they are answered in this show, you can support us through the tip link or super chat, both links in the description. So without any further ado, my friends, let's start with my weekly ranking. And I watched quite a bit of stuff this week, a lot of them TV shows. I watched at least one movie per day, I think, but most of them TV shows, because I'm just getting caught up in a lot of things. I'm trying out new shows. There's a certain show coming out next week that I'm going to be watching in a theater, but I'm not going to break embargo and tell you what it is, because I still haven't seen it. All right. In last place, I'm going to have, finally, I watched George Miller's 3,000 Years of Longing. This is a film with a lot of great ambition, but it completely crumbles down under it. Whereas it's one of those films that completely disregards the number one rule in filmmaking and storytelling, which is show, don't tell. This movie is a lot of telling. It's just two characters sitting in a hotel room, and you're just listening to stories that barely involve them and barely have any consequences or stakes in the plot. So this one just wasn't for me. On top of that, let's see, what do I have? Yeah. On top of that, I'm going to have Goodnight Mommy. This is the latest American remake of an international horror film. This one is on Prime Video. I don't love the original 2015 Austrian horror film. I think it's quite good. I really don't like the ending. This one tries to do something different. It's something that I respect when a remake does that. Picks up the bare bones concept that made the original work, but does its own thing with it. And I respect that, but it's not a good thing in and of itself. It's not a very interesting or compelling psychological drama that takes away all the nuance, hidden meanings that allows you as an audience to piece together what is actually going on in the original. This one just spoon feeds you all the information. So a lot of the engagement that you feel in that original Austrian film, which I do recommend, even though I don't think it's amazing or anything like that, this one loses that. So I think it's very middle of the road. I think it's watchable. I think it could have been much worse. But but this one just didn't stack up. On top of that, a nice surprise, though also it isn't like great or anything. I'm going to have Do Revenge. This is the latest Netflix original. Think Mean Girls slash Clueless meet Strangers on a Train by Hitchcock with Maya Hawke and one of the actresses from Riverdale. I think it's Camila Mendes because she is of Brazilian heritage. This was quite good. This is quite a bit of fun. Dives into the whole toxicity and psychopathy of teenagers and high school, which is the absolute worst, and is not afraid of showing how horrible every single person around that age in that environment can really be. It's not afraid of showing how shallow and how image driven a lot of people around that age are. So this one works out quite well. I think it drags quite a bit in the middle. It has some story threads that feel uneventful and feel like they barely add anything new. But there's a candy cane coated color to it all. The cinematography, the color is excellent. The performances are really nice. And it offers something new enough to the formula. On top of that, I'm going to have Drifting Home. This is also a Netflix original. This is an anime movie. You guys know I love anime, so I always talk about anime whenever there's something new coming out, particularly on Netflix, particularly when it's a movie. It's just easy to get to it. And this one, while I think that it is very on the nose, it can be very on the nose with its messaging. It also drags a little bit in the middle. Message and I have a cable. Hello, I'm back. Um, yeah. Um, yeah, Drifting Home is quite good. Not great, but there's a Ghibli-esque quality. There's a childlike perspective that is wonderful to see in this film. So I really enjoyed it. Let me just focus on myself because the camera is focusing on my. There we go. Um, on top of that, I'm going to have this week's She-Hulk. This was a solid episode. This is an episode that finally gets some momentum going for the series, which I'm so happy for. Like, it took us 5 episodes, but we're actually picking up on stuff that we've established previously and bringing it back. And according to even clips that we've seen from episodes that are to come, we know Abomination is coming back. We know the show is probably going to handle She-Hulk's anger issues because she is a Hulk after all. And we see a little bit of that in this episode already. So I cannot wait to see that come to life. On top of that, I started watching a show on Apple TV Plus called Bad Sisters. This is a really good show. I don't want to get too much into it, but it's basically this family of 5 sisters who unite, or rather, it's a family of 5 sisters, but only 4 of them unite against their brother-in-law, who is the easiest way to explain this guy, who's played by Claes Bang from The Northman, who played Fjolnir. He's basically Homelander if he didn't have any superpowers. He's just the most destructive, puny little. See you next Tuesday. See you next Tuesday. Think of what those initials form for a second, and that's exactly what he is. This is a really good show. Go watch it on Apple TV Plus. I'm really enjoying it. And at number 1, the best episode so far of House of the Dragon. This episode has everything. The characterizations, the drama, the politicking, the power play, the strategic, cunning machinations of Daemon Targaryen, one of the best, perhaps my favorite current character on television, and how it's so character informed. It feels like a narrative so specific for these characters. This show is absolutely sensational. And I just rewatched episode 5 this week, which is coming out tomorrow for everyone to see. I have my review ready. And this episode 5, not that we're ranking that one, but it definitely knows it's a midpoint of a season. But we'll get to that on my video review. Episode 4 is just chef's kiss storytelling. It's everything. I adored this show, and it's not leaving me wanting. It's giving everything it can at each and every single episode. All right. with my weekly ranking out of the way, let's start with yours, my friends. And coming up first, we have Neminician Scott. My weekly ranking number 3, Stargirl Season 3, Episode 3. Number 2, House of the Dragon Episode 4. No. Hang on. Season 3, Episode 3. Episode 2. Number 1. Okay, so I'm going to assume that a number 2 is Stargirl, and a number 1 of TV shows is House of the Dragon Episode 4. Movies, at number 4 we have Morbius, at number 3 you have The Suicide Squad, number 2 you have Jurassic World Dominion, and at number 1 Star Wars A New Hope. I need to rewatch the Star Wars because it's been a while. I need to watch the entire franchise. But that's a good number 1. Nothing should be above that. All right, Eric Thorpe reviews. Weekly ranking. Number 1, House of the Dragon Season 1, Episode 4. Told you. Number 2, Better Call Saul Season 3. Number 3, The Sopranos Season 2. Number 4, When They See Us Episode 1. I never actually saw that show. Number 5, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. I forgot to rank The Rings of Power. I guess at least Episode 1 I would rank above She-Hulk. Episode 2 I would rank below She-Hulk. But I finally started with Rings of Power. I've only seen the first 2 episodes, the ones that I've reviewed on the channel. And I still haven't watched any of the other 2 that are out by now. So Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Episode 4. And number 6, X-Men 92, Season 4, Episode 6. Number 7, Pinocchio 2022. Number 8, Batman 1943. And number 9, She-Hulk Episode 5. I certainly wouldn't put She-Hulk below Pinocchio, man. But hey, doesn't work for everyone, and that's fair. By the way, speaking of Lord of the Rings of Power, I have something new in the background. I sported this on the Lord of the Rings review, but this is Movie Palette. They have all these beautiful color-coded canvases. Each of these stripes of colors is a shot from the movie that they transform into a palette of color. And I can get you a discount if you go to the link in the description at moviepalette.com and use code REN15, REN15. You can get yourself a 15% discount. Not only will you help them, but you would be helping me and get you a beautiful canvas for your background, for your movie decor around your house or your bedroom or wherever you want. They have a vast selection. I had trouble selecting which one I wanted. I ultimately went with La La Land, but they have Lion King, Avengers, all the Star Wars, Treasure Planet, Moana. Think any animated movie. They have classics such as The Wizard of Oz. Obviously, they won't have black and white movies because that would be pointless. But yeah, guys, if you want something like that, go check out moviepalette.com, link in description, and use my code REN15, REN15, to get you a 15% discount. And thank you so much. If you already have gotten yourself a movie palette with my code, tag me on Twitter, tag me on Instagram. I want to see what you got for yourself. And thanks again to moviepalette.com. Jico EP. Didn't watch a lot, but at number 4, the Emmys. Some nice acceptance speeches, and Keenan and Kel's reunion was awesome, but pretty blah. I didn't watch the Emmys. Particularly because I don't watch enough of the TV shows that end up getting nominated, so I don't find myself invested. Number 3, She-Hulk Episode 5. Number 2, Maid Episodes 3 to 10. And number 1, Squid Game Episodes 1 through 5. It only goes down from there, my friend. I know 6 is really good, and then it goes down harshly from there. Luis Feliciano, now with a new look at Red Guardian from the Thunderbolts on his profile pic. Weekly ranking number 3, Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar. I have no idea what this is. I apologize for that. Number 2, She-Hulk Episode 5, and number 1, Ocean's 11, 1960. I only ever saw the remake, apparently, because it is a remake, Ocean's 11, and I've never seen any of the other ones. But I will need to before the new Ryan Gosling, Margot Robbie one come out. All right. With that out of the way, my friends, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your weekly rankings. And let's go into our topic of discussion. And let's establish this first and foremost. This is just a rumor. It's not coming from any credible sources, but also no credible sources have have taken this rumor down. They haven't said anything that negates this rumor. So we're going to address it, the possibility of this happening, but we're going to address it as it is right now. It's a rumor. It's probably not going to happen. Maybe we don't see this happening, but it is rumored that Kevin Feige is tapping Black Panther and Black Panther Wakanda Forever director Ryan Coogler to helm Secret Wars. Not only the conclusion of Phase 6, the conclusion of the Multiverse Saga, and the film that becomes the second climax of the MCU. And I am conflicted when it comes to this. Not because I don't like Ryan Coogler, not because I'm not excited for Secret Wars, not because I've lost love for the MCU. You know that is. Neither of those are true. I love Ryan Coogler. I'm excited to no end for Secret Wars, and my love for the MCU is still as strong as it ever was. Let's first address the quote-unquote negatives, because it really isn't a negative per se. But let's first address the possible negatives of this, so we can end then on this high note. So why I don't get particularly excited has nothing to do with Ryan Coogler himself, but it has to do with the fact that this is a different director from the Kang Dynasty. Kang Dynasty is, as of right now, only coming out 6 months before Secret Wars. Now, I am 60 to 65% sure that these movies are going to shuffle releases, not by much, but they are going to shuffle releases to give more breathing room between movies like Infinity War and Endgame War. Nevertheless, as it stands right now, they're only 6 months apart. I would rather, like Infinity War and Endgame, see the same director tackle both parts of this climax, both parts of this endgame, no pun intended. Because I feel like these stories will naturally feed into one another. They're not two separate things, they're not two different culminations. They are one very necessary part and another very necessary part of a whole. They can stand by their own, but together they become even better. That's the whole point of having sequels. So I would just rather see the same person direct both the Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. Does that mean necessarily that I would prefer Destin Daniel Cretton for both? No. Does that mean necessarily that I would prefer Ryan Coogler for both? No. Whichever one of them goes for it, and I love both these directors for the movies they've done outside the MCU and the movies they've done inside the MCU, with the original Black Panther being fantastic, having so many strong themes that apparently he's carrying over to Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which I have my own worries about, disconnected from all of this. And Shang-Chi is still one of the most, no pun intended, marvelous movies to ever come out of the MCU. Such a strong father-son narrative filled with emotion. The thematics in that movie are so powerful. So I think either of them, I think both of them can do an incredible job no matter who takes on Secret Wars. I would just rather see both of them take on both Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty. I don't want to see two different people helming these two climaxes. So the problem is not Ryan Coogler. The problem is that this is a different director than Destin Daniel Cretton, who by now, after D23, we know is officially directing the Kang Dynasty. So that's a little bit of my negatives. That's a little bit of my trepidation. With all that out of the way, if it is going to happen, let's first answer this question. Does Ryan Coogler want to do it? Because if he wants, you give it to him. You don't ask questions. Now, we can even feel stronger about this or not as excited after Black Panther Wakanda Forever comes out. And maybe they're waiting for that movie to come out to have this announcement. I don't think they're depending on the reception, because I think they trust Ryan Coogler enough, because he is in-house. He is the one that was tapped with rearranging the whole new direction for the Black Panther franchise after Chadwick Boseman tragically passed away, and they in my opinion, wrongly decided not to recast the character of T'Challa. But that being said, Ryan Coogler is apparently making something fantastic because, as someone who is going into that movie with some trepidation, that trailer is one of the best trailers the MCU has ever put out, probably since Avengers Endgame. I think it's, you guys know how much I love Thor Love and Thunder. I think this is a better trailer than any of the Love and Thunder trailers were. I think it's a better trailer than any of the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness trailers were. I remember saying that the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer 2 was probably the best Spider-Man trailer ever, but this trailer, as far as MCU, as far as trailers in general are concerned, the Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer is a better trailer than Spider-Man No Way Home. So I don't think the MCU, even with Eternals, and I love the trailers for Eternals, particularly the teaser, because I didn't watch the trailer, the official trailer before the movie. But this, apart maybe since Endgame, really, is the best trailer that Marvel has put out. So you guys know I have my trepidations going into Wakanda Forever because of the whole shifting of direction, because of certain decisions that they're taking with the story. I think that trailer looks phenomenal. So if Ryan Coogler wants to do it, if he wants to do Secret Wars, judging from how the trailer for Black Panther Wakanda Forever looks, you let him do it. You give him anything he wants. You give him the keys to the kingdom, because this dude knows what he's doing. Plus, he is in-house. Plus, he excels at personal stories. Secret Wars is a big, giant crossover action extravaganza movie. Yes, it's one of those big scope stories. But at its heart, it is driven by character dynamics. In the comics, it is Reed Richards versus Doctor Doom. I think in the MCU, it could turn either into Reed Richards and Kang or Doctor Strange and Kang, which I think could also be a very interesting dynamic. So the fact that at its core, Secret Wars really is such a personal story, I think Ryan Coogler is the exact kind of person that you want to bring those emotions, to bring that character-driven narrative across in such a giant scoping movie. Plus, it seems like he's only getting bigger. With Black Panther, it had a bigger scope than his usual films. Then you're now going to have Black Panther Wakanda Forever that seems bigger than the original Black Panther. He's also involved. I don't think he's directing everything, but he's also involved in the Wakanda series that's also expanding the scope of Wakanda. And then he's probably going to do Secret Wars. We're just assuming now for the sake of discussion. That's your guy, man. You want a director of that caliber. You want a director that got one of your movies nominated for Best Picture to get in that. I don't necessarily agree that Black Panther should have been nominated for Best Picture. I don't necessarily agree that it's the only MCU movie worthy of that. But you want that guy because Black Panther is really good. Can he maybe get Black Panther Wakanda Forever nominated again for Best Picture? Can he do 2 in a row inside the MCU? Can you imagine if he does? And then they announce that guy, that director for Avengers Secret Wars? That's the guy you want people looking at. That's the perception you want to give people, that the guy who broke the mold, who took down the genre bias of the Academy, is now directing probably the biggest crossover in the studio's history. That's the guy you want. And so, as much trepidation as I get when it comes to having different directors for both that Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars, as far as Ryan Coogler himself as a director, is he a good choice for this? Hell yes, he's a great choice for this. And he can get into a lot of the strong themes that are involved with a thing such as Secret Wars, about existence and nihilism and idealism, and how those all contrast because of the personalities involved. That's what he excels at, bringing humanity into such gigantic scoping stories. So if they do get Ryan Coogler, and again, let's reestablish, this is just a rumor, I'm going to be very happy. I will still be somewhat hesitant at it being two different directors. But if you're going to get two different directors, getting a Destin Daniel Cretton and a Ryan Coogler to direct such giant stories, that's the least bad mistake you can make, if it does turn out to be a mistake, because the fact that it's two different directors might lead us into those films by the time it comes out, and we're like, thank God they let different directors do each of this, because they're both so different. This is just going in with all the information we have right now. But give Ryan Coogler the world, man. Give him the keys to the kingdom. But if Ryan Coogler does it, I will be very excited, and we'll talk again. This will be a topic of discussion again, whether it's confirmed or not after Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. As trepidatious as I am for that film, I don't think I'm going to come out of that film saying the direction wasn't very good. I think the direction in that film is not going to be a fault amongst the many possible problems that movie may have. So here's hoping it turns out great, and we're like, yes, I want the person who did this movie to do Secret Wars. And look, we talked about Destin Daniel Cretton. He's been officially announced. John Watts was officially announced to direct Fantastic Four. Destin Daniel Cretton may drop out. Ryan Coogler may not ever be announced. They may just let this roll for a while and end up announcing Destin Daniel Cretton as the director for Secret Wars. And if he gets that, my God, he brings those Shang-Chi sensibilities to a story driven by friendship and rivalry. And the movie can be so rich if you get such a director that can bring all of this across with just visuals, with just performances, which is the main job of a director. So, yeah, Secret Wars is going to be fucking insane one way or another. Both these directors are incredible prospects with what we know so far. So this is just my point of view, that I wish it was the same person, but if it can't be the same person, okay, we're still in good hands. There may be a detachment between movies, given that there are such two strong, distinct voices behind the scenes helming each project, but those voices are still going to be unique unto themselves. This is not going to be a brainless blockbuster, that's for sure, as most of the best MCU projects aren't. So that's my 2 cents on this possibility, on everything going on right now with this rumor of Ryan. I was about to say Ryan Gosling. If Ryan Gosling was going to direct Secret Wars, as much as I love him as a director, I don't think Lost River, was that the movie he made, which I didn't dislike, I don't think he would be a good choice. But Ryan Coogler, that's a good choice right there to direct your massive blockbuster. All right, everyone, let's move on to your live questions. And we have about an hour to answer all your questions, the ones that are already there. And if we have enough time, maybe more. If you want to guarantee your question is answered, remember to go to the tip link in the description or use the super chat feature, or even become a member. If you are a member of the channel and you leave a question in the live chat, we will bring it up. A comment, a question, a theory, anything, an opinion in general, anything. All right. And we start with Joe Fletcher. Thoughts on Leonardo DiCaprio telling Timothée Chalamet that he should not do any superhero movies in his career? Do you think this means that we will never see Timothée Chalamet in an MCU or DC movie? And thoughts on DiCaprio basically saying that superhero movies are not worth some actors' time, even though the best actors in the world have acted or are currently acting in these types of movies? Yeah, it's an old discussion, isn't it? But at the time, I remember when the news came out that Timothée Chalamet said, "Oh, someone that I know told me to not do any superhero movies." A lot of people suspected it to be DiCaprio. Turns out a lot of people were right. I think it's very unfair. I don't have an opinion on DiCaprio having this opinion, but I think the opinion in and of itself is unfair. Because like you said, a ton of the best actors in the world do these movies day in, day out. More of the best actors in the world join these movies every year. And like we talked about with Ryan Coogler, sometimes these movies, they're fantastic enough to be nominated for Best Picture. Not a lot of them are, But again, not a lot of movies in general are. There's still a ton of genre bias for this kind of stuff. Like not every drama is amazing. Not every comedy is amazing. Not every war movie is amazing. Not every musical is amazing. Not every superhero movie is going to be amazing. But being a superhero movie isn't inherently a bad thing. It's not inherently a good thing, but it's just another movie. And if you want to be a fair movie critic, movie reviewer, if you want to be a fair actor, a fair director, a fair storytelling in this field, you judge a movie as a movie. That's the best way to do it. That's the fairest way to do it because every movie deserves a chance. I hate Paul W.S. Anderson. I go into the Resident Evil movies and I give them a chance because they deserve it. They might surprise me. They haven't so far, but they might surprise me one day. All right. Joe Fletcher also asks, as we get closer to Wakanda Forever, how likely do you think we see Killmonger in the movie? I have stayed away from leaks for this movie, but I think we see him 100%, and he will either talk to Shuri after she becomes Black Panther, or he is somehow resurrected due to Atlantis. As we know, Killmonger was buried in the ocean. I give it right now. I give it a 10% chance of being resurrected, especially by Atlantis and all that. You bring up a good point in that he may be in the ancestral realm and he meets up with Shuri after she becomes Black Panther, or whoever does become Black Panther. If it's not Shuri, I think it's going to be Shuri. I don't want it to be Shuri, but I think it's a good. If he shows up, I think it's a quick moment in the ancestral plane. But even that, I'm willing to give it a 30% because it all depends on the story. Does the story need Killmonger to show up? Because it's all going to be driven by the death of T'Challa. Why would you bring that character back? Obviously, you can't do that with T'Challa because there was a tragic real-life passing. But I really don't know. As of right now, maybe, not that I will watch it, but maybe a second trailer will maybe spoil that or give us a better idea. Maybe the second trailer will reveal who is the actual Black Panther by the end of the film. But as of right now, I don't think we see a Killmonger, and I don't think there's a need to see Killmonger. So that's my 2 cents. Joe Fletcher, what is an up-and-coming comic book movie that everyone is excited for except you? For me, it's Shazam 2. I'm sorry, but that first trailer they put out was terrible, and I wasn't the biggest fan of the first movie. I wasn't the biggest fan of the first movie either. I don't think the trailer they put out is terrible, but it's not something that elevated my excitement. It's something that left my excitement exactly where it was. Because I wanted to like that first movie. I love Zachary Levi since Chuck. I love David F. Sandberg since Lights Out. The short and the feature. So mine wouldn't be Shazam 2. Not that I'm excited for it. I'm very neutral towards it. I want to be excited. Like, excite me, fucking movie. But what is a comic book movie that everyone... I don't know if this counts as a movie, but Werewolf by Night would be one that I'm very indifferent to as of right now. I hope it's awesome. I hope it's all kinds of crazy and it leans into that silliness more. Because the trailer had a lot of seriousness that I was interested in, and then it had a little bit of camp that took away from the seriousness, but not enough camp to become its identity. Kind of like Malignant. Malignant was just fucking stupid. I hate Malignant. It's one of the worst movies of the last year, honestly. Not enough to be in the bottom 10, but one of the worst movies of last year. So to me, Werewolf by Night right now, I needed to either strongly lean in one direction or strongly lean onto another. So yeah, I don't even think it's necessarily a worse trailer than the Shazam 2 trailer, but it's a trailer that I also have to judge as a part of the MCU. And it's also being done by a first-time director, Michael Giacchino, who is genuinely one of the top 5 composers working today. And he's always escalating himself. He's doing The Batman, and he's doing Lightyear, and he's doing Jurassic World Dominion, and he's doing Thor Love and Thunder. What do any of those scores have in common? Well, they're all awesome. because they're done by Michael Giacchino. So for me, I probably have to go Werewolf by Night. Sereg Yezer, again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and I apologize. I don't mean to offend whatsoever, but we've had a really good conversation that I understand. Even people from their area maybe mispronounce their name, so he doesn't necessarily want to put any more weight on me, which I respect. So anyway, why don't you do trailer reactions? Why is it not a part of your content? So it's a more complex question than what at first might seem. I've done trailer reactions, and they don't do well for the channel. That's one of the reasons. Another reason is that I only have a laptop. That's the only thing I have. And the way I edit my videos, it just takes too long to get it up. A trailer reaction needs to be up like 10, 15 minutes after the trailer comes out. And I'm not fast enough to do that, you know? Another reason, that's the reason I'm about to name is one of the least problematic issues, but the fact that I'm European, trailers always come out at a convenient time if you're from America. But for someone who is a European, sometimes they'll come out at 3 a.m. for me. I'll be asleep. I won't watch the trailer until the next morning. And I won't record a video in the morning. And my mornings are going to the gym, Mondays specifically handling groceries and all that. And I have to do my hair and all that to be presentable for the videos. That's one of the issues of having long hair, but that's another thing entirely. So the times are not even necessarily convenient as someone who is not from America. But they don't do well. I take too long in to edit them, so that's a me problem. That's not even anything to do with the trailers. They don't do well for the channel, and I just don't enjoy them as much as I enjoy just doing movie reviews. And honestly, good at it, really. Like the views show it, but I see myself and I'm like, I'm not good at reacting. Every time I react, like I'm not one of those people that can fake well. So if you see one of my old trailer reactions, all the screams, all the excitement, like that is real, but at the same time, I don't like it. And maybe the people who clicked on those, maybe my good friends, all of you who are here right now watching the video, maybe you watch those videos and you think that's the best thing I put out there. But I don't know. It's the thing I least like to edit because I'm in that stress of how I have to rush this to be out so it can still be relevant. But I just prefer movie reviews. I'm going to start bringing in out of the theater reactions, but because I have social anxiety, every time I get out of the theater, I'm like, I need to record, but I'm not going to record in front of all these people. So that's something that stops me. But maybe I'll start this week after I leave Andor on IMAX. But I don't know. To me, trailer reactions is just not something I enjoy, and that's a rule I put in front of myself for this channel. If I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to do it. So yeah, I hope that, I know I rambled a little bit, I went off on several tangents, but I hope that kind of explains it, or at least as best as I can. All right, Lady Aaron, so over the week we got our first trailer for Damien Chazelle, Babylon. What are your initial thoughts on this trailer? Is it one of the best trailers of the year? I don't know, because I don't remember all the trailers that came out this year. The trailer is spectacular. It's big, it's loud, it's boisterous, it's adrenaline fueled, it's gorgeous to look at. The film looks like absolute insanity. As a first trailer, though, it feels like the least character focused, the least personally driven Damien Chazelle film, which is perfectly fine. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I just naturally gravitate more towards character-driven stories. The guy who wants to be a drummer in Whiplash, Mia and Sebastian who want to accomplish their dreams and find themselves at an impasse to do so in La La Land, and a man dealing with depression and doing what he's good at in First Man. So I don't know if it's one of the best trailers of the year, but it's an incredible trailer. Are you going to stick with what you said in the live stream that you are more excited for The Fabelmans after seeing the trailer? Or has the excitement shifted over to Babylon now? I don't know if I'm necessarily more excited. I think the excitement is level-headed for both movies, but I will say maybe the Fablemans trailer connected more with me. Again, personal story about this person who dreams of making movies, who has this boundless imagination, who's essentially daydreaming day in and day out, always wanting to create. This guy right here. So, so so probably the Fablemans connects more with me, but they're both incredible trailers, and I think the excitement in general. It's a very personal movie that I connect with in the Fablemans, but it's a Damien Chazelle movie in Babylon, so they're neck and neck. Besides the Babylon trailer, what is the best and worst trailer that you saw this week, and why? No idea. I already don't remember any trailer that I watched this week besides the Babylon trailer. So that's the best, and I don't have a worst. Lady Aaron, if you were able to combine House of the Dragon with all the seasons of Game of Thrones, where would House of the Dragon rank in terms of Game of Thrones show universe? I don't know, because House of the Dragon is not over. I haven't finished the season. I've only seen half of the season. Right now, it's building up to be better than season 2, than season 8, maybe even than season 1 of Game of Thrones. But as of right now, I can't properly rank it because I haven't finished the season. Lady Aaron, since Avatar is going to be released in theaters next week, I wish I could go see it. Do you think Avatar would not only dominate the box office, but also further solidify its status as the highest grossing movie of all time? Second question first. Yes, it's going to solidify its status as the as the highest grossing movie of all time, 100%. Is it going to dominate the box office? I honestly don't think so. I don't think it's going to flop. I think it's going to do quite well. I think it could even be number 1 at the box office because nothing else, at least over here, is really coming out. But I don't think it's going to do like 100 million. I think we'll see it to do 30 million, 40 maybe, because the 3D is back. It's in IMAX. They're going to do a bunch of money because they're selling only the most expensive option possible. But yeah, I don't think it's going to do bonkers money at the box office. I don't think we're going to see it do even a quarter of what it did in its original run. But yeah, I think it's going to do well. I think it's going to do well. Lady Aaron, what is your favorite commercial jingle ever? If you have one, I don't. I really don't. So I can't answer that one. Ryan, have you been keeping with the Pokemon anime? I have not. Can you believe that Ash defeated Cynthia in the anime and is now the second strongest trainer in the anime so far? No idea, but good for Ash. He's finally winning at something. Lady Aaron, what's the TV show in which the original version is amazing, but the remake or sequel is a complete disaster and should have never been made? I can't think of TV sequels, but if second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on seasons count, the first season of Heroes and the rest of the show Heroes. First season is still one of the greatest single seasons in television history up until this day. The rest of the seasons, not so much. Lady Aaron, after hearing about the disastrous critical reception of the live-action version of Disney's Pinocchio, does it make you worried about the future Disney live-action remakes like Little Mermaid and Snow White are going to turn out or not? No, because the critical reception is something entirely different than the movies themselves. Because Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Aladdin, what else? What are other Disney live-action remakes that have come out? All those movies, they were horribly, a lot of them were horribly received by critics. But I love Beauty and the Beast. I really like Aladdin. I love The Lion King. Jungle Book was amazing, but that one got unanimous praise. Cinderella got unanimous praise. Cruella is the best of them all. A lot of them didn't have good reviews, and I personally still like them. So I'm not worried about any of those films. Not that I'm actually particularly excited about either Little Mermaid or Snow White. Snow White is being directed by Mark Webb. I'm not a fan of Mark Webb as a director. Little Mermaid has potential because it's Rob Marshall. It has a good cast, but I'm not even a lover of Little Mermaid, the original. So when I saw that trailer, that was a really nice, really good looking recreation of that incredible moment in the original. but it's not a movie that sits as one of my favorites. But the fact that Pinocchio got badly reviewed, badly received, that does not worry me for those, because the critical reception of others, and I didn't like Pinocchio either, that's not necessarily my critical reception for most of the Disney live action remakes. Lady Erin, if you can pick any video game universe to live in for a day, what would it be and why? And then, in your picked video game universe, which character would you want to hang out with the most? Video game universe, Pokemon. Yeah, just catching Pokemon, hanging out with Pokemon, because they're essentially animals, and I love animals, so that would be mine. A character to hang out with the most. Can it be a Pokemon? Because Entei or Rayquaza, and my starter would be Torchic, obviously. Lucario would be on my team. Absol would be on my team. So I just hang out with the Pokemon. I don't care for any of the people. I just want to hang out with Pokemon. Lady Erin, if you were to go on any TV show or movie universe to live in forever, what would it be and why? And you must pick only one to live in. I would choose the MCU if I get to be a superhero, but if I don't get to be a superhero, if I'm going TV, I'm going, though there's also movies, but the movies are heartbreaking. Not that there are many movies. If I was to go on My Hero Academia or like, all of these imply that I would get the superpowers that the main characters in them have. So what is the TV show that I would go into if I don't get any superpowers? I don't necessarily need to be the main character, just a pleasant world to live in. How I Met Your Mother is a good thing. It would probably allow me to live in New York, even though I can't realistically afford to live in New York. Not that I want to live in New York, but just in that imaginary world. In terms of movies, The Princess Bride. The Princess Bride would be cool to live in, or a Ghibli movie. One of the most Totoro, just a nice, kind little world. I don't want to live in Grave of the Fireflies. That's not a world you want to live in, but My Neighbor Totoro would be a good world to live in. Which Ryan Gosling movie character do you relate to the most, and why? Sebastian from La La Land, because and other reasons. So yeah. Which Adam Driver movie character do you relate to the most, and why? Definitely not the guy from Marriage Story, because I'm not a father, and I don't cheat. Kylo Ren. Yeah, Kylo Ren for sure. Out of his characters, at least the ones that are coming up to my mind. Yeah, Kylo Ren for sure. Ren and Zach, and Zach's not here. If you didn't do movie reviews on your channel, what would your YouTube channel be about, and what would you mainly do on it? That's a good question. So Zach is not here, but I can actually answer this for Zach. Zach, actually, I think he's answered this several times before. Not necessarily on This Week in Geek, but I know he's mentioned it on his channel. If Zach didn't do movie reviews, he'd do like theme park reviews. He'd go on rides and talk about the rides, be it Disneyland or whatever other parks are out there that I'm not aware of. But he'd focus on theme parks and all that stuff. If I didn't do movies, I'd maybe do comic books. I'd maybe focus on figures, particularly maybe Power Rangers would be a strong focus of mine. If not anything necessarily to do with any of this stuff, I'd probably be doing talking about wrestling, because I love wrestling. I thought for a second to answer cooking, but I like to cook for myself so I can eat at lunch, dinner, and all that, but I don't necessarily like to get creative or talk about cooking. Cooking is just for me. I'm a selfish bastard. So yeah, probably wrestling. If I didn't do like movie reviews, I'd probably focus like on figure collection, maybe comic books, talk about the stories, because I'm just always driven to storytelling. But I don't know if that would like be like broad enough for a YouTube channel. So I don't know. that would probably be it. So yeah, I think maybe that was a lazy answer. I think maybe that was disappointing for a lot of you to hear. But yeah, I'm going to stick with, if I didn't do movies, maybe wrestling. Maybe I talk about wrestling. Um, Eric Thorpe reviews. Do you guys think the recent photo that came out, I believe at D23, yes, it was at D23, of Harrison Ford and Kei Hui Kwan is a sign that we'll be seeing the latter return as short round in Indy 5? I do not. Could be. We could be surprised, but I don't think that's the case. I think they were there. They happened to be together because Kei Hui Kwan is going to be in Loki season 2, and that is very, very exciting. But who knows? Maybe. I just don't think so as of right now. Eric Thorpe reviews. Any idea on why House of Dragon hasn't shown up in the top 250 shows list on IMDb yet? Shows with a similar score, but with way less votes are in there. No idea, but who cares? Who cares? IMDb is a useless site other than getting information about who worked in what that has already come out. Because if you go and check that information for movies yet to come out, anyone can add stuff in there. But for stuff that has already come out, that's all IMDb is good for. It's to get information on who worked on what, and when it came out. Eric Thorpe. I don't remember what you guys' feelings are on Barry Keoghan's brief scene as the Joker. Personally, I'm not a big fan, other than him, though the Batman is perfect in my opinion. Um, I'm not a big fan of the scenes. I think they were unnecessary. I do like the idea of Barry Keoghan as a Joker, yeah, but I don't think that movie, the Batman, needed him in there whatsoever. But I suddenly am thinking, would Matt Smith have been such a perfect Joker? Damon smiling while being kicked on the floor by Viserys reminds me of the scene in Dark Knight where Batman is punching Joker, interrogating him, and he just laughs uncontrollably in response because he knows everything is going as he wants. Similar to Damon in that scene. It's way too specific of an example for the point, because I get what you're saying, and I don't necessarily disagree that moment reminds you of that specific Joker, but I don't think that necessarily makes him a good Joker overall. Depending on how the Joker is written, I don't think he necessarily be a good Joker for this version that Barry Keoghan is playing. And that is not saying I would like to see Matt Smith as a Joker. You all know I've been praising the name of Matt Smith ever since Doctor Who. He is the greatest Doctor of all time. He's one of my favorite working actors that never quite gets his due, but he is getting some of his due now with House of the Dragon. So that's exciting. I would love to see him tackle a Joker, but that scene, as an example, is just way too specific for me to think that he would make a good Joker other than a version of Heath Ledger's Joker. But I think, yes, I think he's just so good as a villain, particularly this villain, so Machiavellian, so machinating, so cunning, where he's playing chess in his own head and moving all the pieces mentally. That's what makes him so good. I don't think he would be. He in Doctor Who, for instance, he is boisterous. He is over the top. He calls upon the spotlight to himself, but as a good guy. That's a quality the Joker has, so I'm sure he could mold that to be a good Joker. But all I'm trying to say is that scene necessarily by itself doesn't lend me to believe he'd be a great Joker. It's just his entire body of work, his quality, his range as a performer is what would possibly, depending on how the role is written, make him a good Joker. Movie trends and studios. Who are some of you guys' favorite musicians, bands? We talked about this last week, but for me, Dragon Force, Ed Sheeran, Iron Maiden, Metallica, Skillet, Alter Bridge, Slipknot. I like my movie score, so I go for John Williams. I go for James Newton Howard, for a Hans Zimmer, for a Michael Giacchino. Nirvana is one of my favorites. What else am I missing? Breaking Benjamin is awesome. The Fault is a really good band that you should listen to in case you aren't already. Am I missing? I know I'm missing. I recently found a band called Orion, and they are really good. I discovered a band called Dynasty with a Z instead of an S. They are really good. Falling in Reverse is really good. Issues is a very underrated band. Um, Alan Silvestri, of course, one of the greatest. Black Veil Brides is really good. Bon Jovi, one of the all-time greats. Um, and yeah, those are just Bullet for My Valentine. How could I forget Bullet for My Valentine? Of course. Cliff Martinez, very underrated composer. Go listen to Cliff Martinez's work. Disturbed, one of my favorite bands that I've never seen live is Disturbed. Um, so yeah, those are just a few of the ones that come to my head. And I'm searching on my playlists. Harry Jackman is a really good composer. I don't talk about him enough. I know I've mentioned Maiden. Maiden is one of the greatest bands of all time. I've seen them live 3 times, and they are always incredible. They always put on a show. John Powell is a really good composer. Camelot. Camelot is a great band. Again, another band that I love, but they have never seen live. Linkin Park. Lorne Balfe, another really good composer. Ludwig Göransson, another really good composer. Metallica, I've talked about. Michael Giacchino, I've talked about. Post Malone is really good. Queen, obviously, who doesn't like Queen? Ramin Djawadi, that's another great composer right there. Shallow Side and Sleeping with Sirens are also really, really good bands. I've talked about Slipknot. And yeah, and then also diving deep into the Disney catalog of musicals where you have Alan Menken and who else did that? You have Alan Menken and you have there was another big Disney composer, and now I'm blanking on who it is. But yeah, anyway, those are just a few of the ones. I'm not finding anyone else that I'm forgetting. So yeah, all right. Really broad question that I just have so many that I love. So, the Master of Gaming. Since Star Wars Rogue Squadron from Patty Jenkins has been indefinitely shelved, which Star Wars movie would you watch in theaters? Josh Trank's Boba Fett movie or Rogue Squadron? Rogue Squadron, easy. I don't like anything that Josh Trank has ever done. Fantastic Four is shit. Capone is shit. And Chronicle is not shit, but I certainly don't like it as much as the rest of the world seems to like it. I think it's a mundane, coming of age, superhero, drab looking found footage film that I just think it's very middle of the road. It's very 2.5 stars kind of thing. So easily Rogue Squadron, because I at least like stuff that Patty Jenkins has done. And we've gotten Book of Boba Fett by now, which also doesn't help. And we saw how that turned out. Not that that, in fairness, has anything to do with Josh Trank, but we by now have seen what they did with the Boba Fett story, so I don't get excited by another hypothetical Boba Fett story. Master of Gaming, are you and Zach, Zach's not here, sad that Craven the Hunter and Madam Web got delayed from January to October, and October to October and February 2024, respectively? No, I don't care. Those movies can disappear from the release schedule, and I won't bat an eye. I will sleep soundly in my bed. So yeah. Zach, he's not here. Which film are you more hyped about for Blue Beetle or Madam Web? So I'm certainly more hyped for Blue Beetle. I think Zach would answer the same thing. Not to speak for him without him being here, but yeah, definitely Blue Beetle for me. Master of Gaming. Zach, now that Craven and Rogue Squadron got delayed and shelved respectively, do you think January 23 and December 2023 is mostly empty like August and September 2022 at the box office? Are they empty? Hang on. Let's take a look. January 2023 releases. Movies. No, those movies aren't coming out in January, Google. Stop lying to me. Oppenheimer is not coming out. So technically, Babylon comes out on January, so that's one for one of the weeks. That awful looking movie Megan is coming out in January. And then nothing on the last week, apparently. So we got something for January 6th. We got something from January 13th. But we don't have anything else in January. So as of right now, You're right. January is pretty empty. Let's take a look at December. December, we got Wonka. I don't. Has Wonka been delayed from December 2023? Let me know in the live chat because I'm under the impression it was delayed, but maybe it was delayed from somewhere else to December. Um, Supposedly, there's a Star Trek movie coming out in December 2023. It's not. It's not going to happen. The Color Purple, the new musical, is going to come out in December next year. Again, we're not going to get um, a Star Trek sequel. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is coming out next year. But I would doubt that we keep a very empty December because Christmas is an amazing release date. Or that Christmas season, the holiday season, is an incredible date to release your movie. So even if it stands as pretty empty right now, pretty deserted, don't worry, Master of Gaming, because they're going to add movies to it because everyone wants movies around that release schedule. So that's my 2 cents. Sodium285, hey Ren and Zach, hello, thank you for being here. Do you think even if Wakanda Forever is not on the same level of greatness as the first Black Panther, will it still be good? Yeah, absolutely. You can not be as good as something and still be good. So I think it has all the right and every shot at being great without meeting the expectations of the first Black Panther. I think it may meet them. I think it may surpass them. I think it may not meet them at all. But I don't think it depends on being as good as the original to be good in it by itself. Sodium285, some people are saying Avengers Kang Dynasty is secretly a Young Avengers vs. Kang movie. Do you think it will? Nope, don't listen to those rumors. Those are unfounded rumors. They are not coming from any reliable source. So, again, always check the source when you hear rumors. Like we did with the Ryan Coogler thing. I checked, I saw the rumor, I followed the source. It's not coming from anywhere credible, but it is being touted as just a rumor. So I thought it was a good enough topic of discussion if we address it just as a rumor. So don't listen to those rumors because they're not coming from any reliable sources. And I wouldn't be too... At least I wouldn't be as excited if we found out it would be Young Avengers versus Kang over it actually being an Avengers movie. So yeah. Who would you want on the roster of the MCU X-Men? Me, Rogue, Storm, Nightcrawler, Kitty Pryde, Gambit, Cyclops, Jean, and Iceman. So in my X-Men fan casting video, which is probably 2 years old at this point, I don't know. I explain what my roster would be and why. So my roster would essentially be what the roster was in the X-Men the animated series. So obviously you have Xavier, you have Cyclops, you have Jean, you have Beast, you have Rogue, you have Gambit, you have Storm, you have Wolverine, and you have Jubilee. And that's the main lineup of the X-Men for me. But I dive into details and into maybe the story a little bit in that video. So go to my channel and search for X-Men fan casting, and you'll find that video. Another video I'm very proud of, relating back to one of the questions from last week. GeekOEP, what style of the MCU do you guys prefer? The more serious ground tone, Winter Soldier, Iron Man from the trailer Secret Invasion, or more lighthearted, even weirder and goofy side with a balance, of course, Guardians movies, Spider-Man movies, Ragnarok? It depends, because I wouldn't like a Captain America movie with a Guardians tone. I wouldn't like a Guardians movie with an Iron Man tone. It really depends on what character you're focusing on. I wouldn't like a Hulk movie with a Spider-Man tone. And then you also have the thing of the seriousness of Iron Man. It's not the same seriousness as Winter Soldier, for instance. The silliness of the Spider-Man movies is not the same silliness as the Ragnaroks or the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So it's much more... do I want to say complex? Complex is not wrong, but more nuanced. There's more nuance to the tones and the lightness of the tones to each of these properties and each of these characters than that. So it really, really depends. Thor, it's funny enough, has been kind of all the things. The first movie is a really nice, grounded, revered Shakespearean drama with grandeur and with resonating themes and emotions and all that. The second one tries to go way too dark for what it is. Thor Ragnarok tries to go way too light for what it is. And then Love and Thunder kind of balances all the things really, really well, leaning more towards the light-hearted side, but still being driven by emotion, which I appreciate, like many people on the internet. Um, so, um, so, um, so yeah, it really depends on the character. Like Secret Invasion, I don't know that I would want the Secret Invasion to be like Guardians in terms of tone, or to be like Thor Ragnarok in terms of tone. Secret Invasion needs to be more grounded, more serious, and that does not mean you can't have jokes and quips and gags in the midst, but be driven by the intrigue, by the mystery, by the suspense. What drives your narrative says a lot about tone. Like Thor Ragnarok was driven by emotion. So there you go. GKP, I saw this conversation on The Big Thing, Harloff's podcast, and they talk about how Phase 5 might change from Phase 4 as they think it won't be as director driven, because their thing is, since the MCU feels more like a long form television series, they feel that when it gets to director driven, it costs the quality of the film and the characters. And they use Multiverse of Madness and Love and Thunder as an example, which are probably the only ones saying Multiverse of Madness wasn't as great as it could have been because it got too Raimi for them. And I actually, since you're talking about Multiverse of Madness, Chico P, I need to give you credit on something, but let me finish the question. Do you think with Phase 5 they should go back to basis and not give director as much creative freedom? No, because even in the basic um, is very much a Jon Favreau movie. So is Iron Man 2, and that didn't work out so well. The Incredible Hulk is very much a Louis Leterrier movie, and that man doesn't have as much of a voice, to be honest. And then the original Thor is very much a Kenneth Branagh movie, and then the Avengers is very much Captain America is very much a Joe Johnston movie. There's so much Rocketeer in that movie. Then the Avengers is very much a Joss Whedon movie. So I don't know what people like Christian. I would generally like to have this argument with them, because look at those films and tell me those specifically aren't very much those directors' movies. So I don't know. My tangent, then I want to go off and I want to give credit to G Code P, is that I remember when Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness came out, I went on Zach's channel. We had a big live discussion about stuff. And you gave the question about Eternals, and I don't know what other examples you gave, but that Multiverse of Madness could maybe with time be better received by people. And I believe at the time I said not necessarily, but we're already seeing a ton of people turning for the better when it comes to Multiverse of Madness. And honestly, I just love seeing that shit for the MCU. That so many people are falling on top of that. So many people are falling on top of so many of the things they're putting out while they're taking chances and being director driven. And now suddenly, well, what are we? It came out in, when did Doctor Strange come out? It was May. It was beginning of May. So we're 5 months removed, approaching 7 months. And people are already turning on Multiverse of Madness, saying, "Oh no, this one was better than we thought initially." Blah blah. So, all credit to you, brother, because you called it, or at least you somewhat predicted it. All right. Personally, I think it should be a compromise where directors bring their style and ideas to the project to make it stand out while still following Feige's plan, which is exactly what the best MCU movies do. Don't make it feel the same, or else it will come off as bland as generic. And I will say this, a great example of that, not in its entirety, but Black Widow. For the first 2 acts, Black Widow is an intimate spy thriller that has Kate Shortland's voice all over it. Kate Shortland has not done many movies before Black Widow or since, I believe. But watch the little stuff that she's made. Berlin Syndrome is so fucking good. Watch that movie. You see those tonalities, that sure-handed direction all over Black Widow until the third act. The third act is where Black Widow turns not sour. It doesn't turn into a bad movie. It's still better than Dark World. It's still better than Iron Man 2. But it's very, oh, okay, this is generic. This is standard superhero stuff. The first two acts, though, Black Widow had the stuffing to be one of the best MCU movies. Maybe not top 5, but top 10 if the third act had stuck the landing. For me, at least. Because Black Widow was never one of those films that I was super excited, even though I love the character of Natasha. And it's the one MCU movie that I don't watch in order. All the MCU movies I watch in order of release. Black Widow I watch after Civil War whenever I do an MCU marathon. So yeah. GKP, do you guys think there's such a thing as a perfect movie? Yes, La La Land. I know we all have our favorites, the movies that mean a lot to us, and the ones that in our minds is flawless, but maybe to somebody else, they don't feel that way and think there's some things that could have been better or hold it back. Absolutely, but that's with everything, I guess. When I personally say favorite movie, I'm sure that movie maybe has flaws to someone else, but I don't see those flaws, and that's why I call it perfect. It's not really that, it's not even that it means so much to me, because I'll tell you, The Greatest Showman means a lot to me, and it's far from a perfect movie. It's not even a great movie, but it does mean a lot to me. Even though it has amazing things in it, amazing parts in it, it's not necessarily a great whole. But there you go. Whenever I personally refer to a movie as perfect, is because I see it as perfection in everything it wanted to achieve, because I don't see those flaws. Not to say those flaws aren't there for anyone else. Anyone else who says there are flaws, they're wrong. But I don't see those flaws, or I don't see anything others might see as flaws. I don't see them as flaws. I see them as qualities. But in a much simpler way of answering, yeah, there's no such thing as a perfect movie. And I'm going to get all existential with you here, but that's because movies are made by human beings, and human beings are not perfect. We don't make perfect things. We build wardrobes, and those wardrobes eventually fall apart. We build microphones, and those microphones eventually stop working. We build cameras, and those cameras eventually are worn out. We build action figures, and those action figures eventually, maybe a very long, but they do have an expiry date in terms of quality. So that's just the human condition affecting our art, is that it's not going to work for everyone because we are not perfect. Therefore, we cannot create perfection. And that's your existential lesson of the day by Ren Geekness, patent pending. Come back for more existential crisis lessons next week. All right. Who are actors that you can sorry, let's start over. GKP. Who are actors that you can hang on. Okay. Who are actors that you can think of that has never been bad in any movie they're in, despite the quality of the film itself? I'll be honest, the only one I can think of is Denzel Washington. I would have said Tom Hanks too, but then I saw Pinocchio. Oh, you don't think Tom Hanks acting this way through the whole film is good? Oh my God, where's Pinocchio? Oh my God. That was stupid. That was a stupid performance, but it was really fun to see. He knew exactly what kind of movie he was in. Also, Randall said Margot Robbie, don't forget the Terminal exists, and she was pretty bad in that, too over the top. I don't think she was bad, but she wasn't good. Not anyone is good. I don't think Ryan Gosling was, you know what, to give a better example of someone who has done terrible career decisions before taking a break in the past few years, Michael Fassbender. I don't think he was ever bad in any of these movies, and he was in terribly shitty movies. For several years, he was making a stand in my bottom 10 movies of the year for several years in a row. But I don't think he himself was ever bad. I think he always gave his 150%. You know, Ryan Gosling is another example. Adam Driver is another example. Natalie Portman is another example. She has been in some shitty movies. Not Thor: Love and Thunder. Internet, don't make me mad. Uh, who else? Robert Downey Jr. Has he been? He was pretty bad in Dolittle, so there you go. He's not one. Chris Evans. I'm going to withdraw that. I'm going to withdraw that because I don't hate Not Another Teenage Movie, but he is not good in that. You can tell he is very much in the early stages of his career. Chris Hemsworth, he's so bad in Black Hat. Poor guy. He's so, not that he himself is bad, but the role itself is so generic. He's not allowed to bring anything that says, I'm glad they picked Chris Hemsworth to play whatever the name of that character in Black Hat was. So yeah. Jigo P, is 2022 the year of horror movies? Think about it. Scream, good. X, Pearl, haven't seen it. The Black Phone, good. Barbarian, haven't seen it. Nope, good. If it counts, maybe sci-fi horror thriller. I think it counts as horror. Multiverse of Madness, it technically does count. It is a very Sam Raimi-esque campy horror film, but it's still a horror film. It's a good year for horror. Like none of those. Scream, X, Pearl I haven't seen, so let's take that out of the equation. Barbarian I haven't seen, so that's the. But like all of the ones I've seen, at the very least, they're solid. They're good. So I think yes, this has been quite the solid year for horror. I think you're very right. So here's hoping it continues that way because Halloween is still to come. We got Halloween Kills. I still have Barbarian to watch. That is finally dropping here around Halloween time. So I'm very excited. Thoughts on Constantine 2 being announced and Keanu Reeves returning to the role, along with Francis Lawrence coming back as director. I still need to watch the original, which is a very strange thing to say because I'm the superhero guy, you know. I love Keanu Reeves, I love Francis Lawrence as the director, and I love Constantine, and yet I've never seen the original movie. So yeah, it's weird that I've never seen that I haven't seen that movie. All right. All right. Gigo EP, top 5 most anticipated announcements from D23. Number 1, Mandalorian Season 3. Number 2, Secret Invasion. Number 3, what did come out for the rest of Wish, probably Wish. Wish looks really good. Number 4, Tales of the Jedi, the animated thing coming out. I may cover that. I may add that to the channel. If you guys, let me know if you want me to talk about Tales of the Jedi when that comes out in the comments, in the live chat. Number 5, I was underwhelmed, but I'm not like, my excitement for Thunderbolts wasn't drained. It was just never that high to begin with, but I guess I'll put that in number 5, like off the top of my head, trying to remember the stuff that came out from D23. So yeah, that's my top 5, I think. Gigo P, when do you guys think we'll get out of this nostalgia phase in movies, TV shows, and even music? I'm not aware of the one in music, but movies and TV shows, I don't know. Do we need to get out of it? Because it all depends on how we use it. And every year, yes, there are some nostalgia-driven movies and TV shows, but then there are also tons of movies and TV shows who are just driven by its own quality and sometimes lack thereof, because sometimes even original stuff isn't that good. But yeah, I don't think we need to get out because we're always going to get more stuff to be nostalgic for. So, wait, wasn't there a Gargoyles announcement at D23? Because that's shooting right up to my number 1. I'll tell you that much. That's how much I love the Gargoyles. If I'm not mistaken, But if memory serves, there was some kind of gargoyles announcement at D23, so that would be my new number one. GGOP, this one is for Ren, the only person here. Remember on your Q&A you said after seeing The Whale that you had no idea Brendan Fraser has that side to him looking back at some of his previous roles, like The Mummy. But have you seen Gods and Monsters with Sir Ian McKellen? I have not. That's the Bryan Singer movie, I believe. Or even The Quiet American with Michael Caine. I haven't even heard of that one. And No Sudden Move. Also didn't see that Soderbergh film that came out last year. He was in that too. Fraser has always has some dramatic chops, but I guess The Whale takes it to a whole new level. Absolutely it does. And I know he has dramatic chops. A Crash, he's quite good in. 2007, the poster is a gun blacked out, and then you have the faces of the cast in the gun, then a butterfly. The Air I Breathe, that's the name of the movie. Not that good of a movie, but he's quite good in it. This is a whole new thing. Like, he has dramatic chops. Because even for comedies, even for The Mummy, that's not devoid of its dramatic moments, of its emotional undertones. This is a whole new thing. Like, I had no idea he was capable of that. So that's what I meant. But no, I actually have never seen any of those three examples, which are three good. One of the Quiet American I've never heard of, Gods and Monsters and No Sudden Move. Those are ones that I'm well aware that they escape me, at least as of right now. Gico EP, do you guys think since Anya Taylor-Joy might end up being do you guys think Anya Taylor-Joy might end up being another Jennifer Lawrence? We talk about sometimes when we see actors pop up in a lot of movies, the public starts to get sick of them and looking at Anya's schedule for what she's got coming up. The girl's been busy, but she's a great actress. She's doing her job and not picking interesting projects. I don't think so, because the thing that unfortunately made people quote unquote tired of Jennifer Lawrence was that she was in major fan favorite franchises. She was all over the place. And in interviews, she said stuff that for some reason got people angry and fed up with her. I don't get why. Because she's very down to earth. She's very honest, something that I respect and admire in her. And people, for some reason, took that to heart and then hit her back with it. Anya Taylor-Joy is in all these projects, but none of them are tentpole blockbusters that the general audience is aware of. And she's not even necessarily the lead in all of them. So I don't think, as of right now at least, she's in that danger. Plus, she's very private. I don't think she's in any danger of it, thankfully, because Jennifer Lawrence didn't deserve it. Anya Taylor-Joy also doesn't deserve it. Dominican Scott, have you seen the Tekken 8 teaser? Are you going to play it? I did not see the Tekken 8 teaser, my friends, because I have the collector's edition with the statue of Kazuya kicking not Itachi, that's a Naruto character, Hayachi, and him catching his son with his hand. But to this day, even though I have that collector's edition for the PS4, I have not played Tekken 7. And so I chose to not watch the trailer for Tekken 8. But I do love Tekken, so I will most certainly be playing that game as soon as I can. There is Scott. Have you seen Street Fighter 6 reveal? Trailer reveal? No, because I'm not a Street Fighter. I'll watch it. I have some. I think I have one for the DS, a Street Fighter for the DS, and I do have Street Fighter versus. Is it versus Tekken or is it versus Mortal Kombat? I have one of those that it's Street Fighter versus something else. But I'm not a hardcore Street Fighter guy. My fighting games from childhood were Tekken, and eventually I became a Mortal Kombat guy, but I've never been hardcore Street Fighter guy. I've seen the online show, I've seen the animated movie, but that's it. Never dove too much into those characters and that lore. Though I do love Akuma. I have a Funko Pop of Akuma back home. Have you talked Winnie the Pooh getting a horror movie? Are you going to watch it? We've talked about it. We've been asked about it. Looks horrible. I didn't even watch the trailer because just the idea, just the stills, the poster looks cheap as hell. It looks like I made it for 5 cents in my bathroom at a single location. So I'm probably going to watch it out of morbid curiosity. But will I review it? That is the question. I have to feel very strongly about it. It can't be one of those films that I'm like, yeah, that was expectedly garbage. It has to be like really fucking bad or surprise me in some way for me to have a strong opinion about it. If I have anything interesting to say about it in a review, maybe I'll review it. I'm sure I'll watch it out of morbid curiosity. Nathan Holton thoughts on Madam Web and Craven getting delayed. Weird Madam Web is until 2024 until me now. I was excited. We talked about it. I don't feel anyway. I'm completely indifferent. That film can disappear out of existence and I'll sleep the same. Nathan Holton's thoughts on Karate Kid Sony film. Cool. Let it come out. I'll watch it. I don't watch Cobra Kai. I've never been a hardcore Karate Kid fan. I've seen the first one. I've seen bits and pieces of the second one, and I saw the Jaden Smith, Jackie Chan remake, which is actually pretty good. But I'm not a hardcore fan, so I'm not too invested. When it comes out, I'll go watch it. But that's it. Sodium 285, do you think we'll get a Mark Ruffalo Hulk movie now that we have a She-Hulk series? No, because they can't. The distribution rights are still with Universal, and Disney doesn't want to make a movie only for Universal to get to distribute it. So unfortunately, I don't see it happening. But the Hulk is my favorite comic book character, so please give the rights back to Disney Universal. Eric Thorpe reviews. Do you think there's any chance the director of Secret Wars could be someone who hasn't done an MCU movie before and as was the case with Joss Whedon when he did Avengers? Yeah, I do. I think there's a good enough chance that could be the case. But I think the MCU, for something like that, at this point, they've seen how well it works if you do it with someone in-house. And though Joss Whedon hadn't done anything within the MCU, he had written for them. He was very much into this world. And around that time, it was very selective. The people who were into this world, who were keen in doing superhero movies and stuff like that. So it was a very different world. Right now, you just don't prioritize the same things you did back then in terms of storytellers. And Joss Whedon, I know that's not what you were asking, but Joss Whedon would never come back to direct any of these movies. I'm sure he would want to, but Marvel don't want anything to do with Joss Whedon right now. I don't think anyone wants. Get therapy, Joss Whedon, okay? So yeah. Lydia, what's your favorite film that you saw at any festival that you went to besides Venice 2022? That's off the top of my head. Like this year, there's The Sun. 2020, Another Round was amazing. 2022, one of my favorite movies was Spencer, so that's up there. Do I prefer Spencer or The Sun? Damn. 2018, 2017, that was The Disaster Artist. That was Three Billboards. That was The Darkest Hour. I didn't watch The Shape of Water at a festival, sadly. 2018, that was Beautiful Boy. I didn't watch Green Room at a festival. 2019, that was The Lighthouse. Jojo Rabbit, that was incredible. Parasite, yeah. So yeah, just a lot to choose from. I can't pick one. What's your favorite memory of a movie that you watched with your parents where they ended up liking the movie or not? Or not? I don't know. From my childhood? It's your favorite movie? No, it's not from my childhood. Just any movie I watched with my parents. Oof. I mean, I watch a ton. So, in recent memory, a really good one is in Spider-Man No Way Home, because my dad took me to watch the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. When we watched No Way Home and Tobey Maguire comes out of the portal and says, "Hello." And my dad just, "Oh, there he is!" Super excited to see him again. So that's a cool recent memory, I guess. Do you have an artist that is considered a guilty pleasure for you to listen to, and if so, who is it? Do you mean music? No. Uh, no, not really. It's funny though because I do have guilty pleasure movies, like Dirty Dancing, for instance. But I don't have guilty pleasure music artists. Like if I don't like the song, I won't listen to it. Or if I do listen to it, I don't consider it a guilty pleasure. So yeah. All right. In terms of She-Hulk, where would you rank the show? Where would you rank She-Hulk in terms of all the Marvel shows that have been released so far? No idea because She-Hulk is not over, so I can't rank it. Lady Aaron, thoughts on the announcement of a new Karate Kid movie being made? Nope. Already talked about it. Not excited and not excited. Completely indifferent because it's not my thing. I know, Ren, that you really focused on film when you went to college or film school. Do you have a favorite memory for that, or a movie that you remember watching that you really liked and adored with a passion? Specifically for film school or college, I remember the first time I watched Casablanca was in a screenwriting class in college back in Portugal. So it was a big screen. It was like one of those projectors. Like it wasn't quite as big as a movie theater, but it was more approximate to a movie theater rather than watching something at home. And then luckily, sometime afterwards, Casablanca was celebrating some kind of anniversary and it played in my local theater. So I went to see that. In film school, I don't have a favorite memory of watching a movie around that time because we watched clips in classes. One of my tutors at one point brought his screener of Blade Runner 2049, and I got all excited because it was one of my favorite movies at the time, and he got excited and I got excited and all that. So yeah, but I don't when it comes to film school, I don't have like a favorite memory of watching movies, more so favorite memory of making a short, doing one of the projects through that year. Will you visit the US at some point someday, Ren? If so, where do you want to go in terms of sightseeing or monuments? I mean, if this works out, sure. Otherwise, there's not enough money to go to the US, unfortunately. Where would I want to go? I would like in terms of visiting the US, there's a ton of places I like to go. LA, New York, Chicago, because I want to try deep dish. I want to try deep dish pizza, and if I'm going to try deep dish pizza, I'm going to try it in its place of origin. Do I want to go to Texas? Not right now. This is not the U.S. as a country, but North America. I'd love to go to Canada. I really want to go to Toronto. I'm going to apply to TIFF again next year. Maybe next year I'll be accepted. In terms of visiting the U.S., there's something. I'm not going to put it out there because I don't want to jinx it. But there is one of my goals for next year. So one of my goals for next year has something to do with that. That's all I'm going to divulge if it works out. But the channel has to kick off, the channel has to be my source of income so it can allow me to go there. Otherwise, there's no shot. I'm not going to get a shot, a remote close shot at being able to go there. But if I could, would I? Yeah, absolutely. Eric Thorpe reviews, and we're almost out of time. We have 2 more questions, so I'll answer these 2 questions that are left. So we have Eric Thorpe reviews. who asks, just realized today is Batman Day. Gonna do anything to celebrate the best fictional character of all time today, Ren? No, because Luke Skywalker is not involved with the Batman, although Luke Skywalker does voice the Joker. So maybe watch The Mask of the Phantasm. I didn't realize that until right now, Eric, so thank you for pointing it out. Shout out to Batman. I don't think I'm going to have time to celebrate it in any way today because the Batman is too long. So out of the blue to just make that decision, not really. But maybe once I'm in bed, unless I have anything else to watch, I could maybe try to watch Mask of the Phantasm because that involves the greatest fictional character of all time. I'm kidding. I don't know that Luke Skywalker is my favorite fictional character of all time. Maybe it's Goku. Maybe it's Tommy Oliver from the Power Rangers. Maybe it is the Batman. Like, those are the three that come. The Doctor, those are four that come to mind right away. But yeah, Batman is up there. Don't worry. So yeah, I don't know if that I'm gonna have time to celebrate today. I don't even have a Batman comic over there. All the Batman comics I have are back in Portugal. So yeah, I would maybe read a comic, but I don't have those here. Sorry I was late to the show. You don't have to apologize for being late. I was making applesauce snack cake for a family gathering. So what is something you love to cook multiple times and one that you are proud of making every time? Cheesecake. I make the greatest cheesecake of all time, and I will brag about that shit forever. I'm not a bragger. I don't think I'm necessarily the best at anything that I do. Though I think I'm good at the things I'm committing to do. But I make the greatest cheesecake ever. If you try my cheesecake, you will never taste a better cheesecake in your life. So that's the stuff I'm best at. It's cooking a mean cheesecake with several layers of cream cheese and Nutella and coconut and red berry sauce. I guess that's the name I'm going to give it. All right, everyone, and that is it for this week's episode of This Week in Geek. So thank you so much for joining me this week. It was a solo show, but it allowed us all to be more relaxed and less rushed to get to the questions and all that. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for listening to this show on Spotify. If you are listening to this show on Spotify, remember to like, to share, to rate us, to like us, to support the show. It all really helps. And what do we got this week? So this past week, I have a short review for Goodnight Mommy. I have a full review for Drifting Home, review for She-Hulk Episode 5. I finally watched the first 2 episodes of The Rings of Power. Tomorrow we'll talk about House of the Dragon. I cannot wait for you guys to see this episode because I've already seen it twice. This week, I'm watching the first 3 episodes of Endor in IMAX, so there will be a review for that. I'm also watching Amsterdam, but I cannot talk about that until the 4th of October. And this week, the pre-festival screenings for LFF start. So starting this week, there will be some LFF reviews coming out. I'm watching Ennis Men, and I'm watching, I think Emily the Criminal is only next week. What am I watching this week? Hang on, I can tell you guys what I'm watching this week. So Ennis Men on Thursday, Holy Spider on Friday, then I got Triangle of Sadness on Tuesday the 27th. I have Emily the Criminal on the 28th. And Causeway on Friday the 30th. This is all before the actual start of the festival on the 5th of October. So LFF is very near here, guys. I have more stuff coming out this week. We have our usual She-Hulk stuff. We have our usual House of the Dragon stuff. I've also seen House of the Dragon up until episode 6. So that review will also be prepared. I don't know if I'm getting any of more episodes ahead of time. So here's hoping I do. But until then, again, thank you so much for watching. And remember, guys, Movie Palette right there. Support them and you'll be supporting the channel. Get yourself a 15% discount on the Movie Palette of your choice for any movie you want. I got La La Land, but you can choose whatever you want. Use code REN15 REN15. That's REN15, just one word, and you'll get yourself a 15% discount. Thank you again. In case you've already gotten yourself a movie palette, remember to tag me on Twitter, on Instagram with your movie palette, and thanks to Movie Palette themselves. So that is all for today, and until the next one, love each other and love the movies.